I've by the way, never seen him genuinely smile except for here.
I bet people are just trying to contain you at the White House. Don't let Miller off the leash.
All right. This is a fun exchange that was on CNN about Venezuela, featuring Ana Navarro. She is the daughter, actually, of a former Contra in Nicaragua. We're speaking of the U.S. in the Western Hemisphere. Right. The U.S. Armed this militia to try to overthrow the Sandinista government and cause a lot of carnage with that. And Ana Navarro is very proud of that history. But in the case of Venezuela, she's actually skeptical of the Trump administration's claims, to her credit. And here she is sparring with a guy named Harrison Fields. I've never heard of him, but
he's like a communications guy. He worked for Donald Trump in the press office.
But I'll just say, if you're losing an argument to Ana Navarro, if Ana Navarro sounds like the voice of reason here, man,
exactly,
you got to rethink your position, I think. Anyway, here's their exchange.
Invested in getting Maduro out. We've got 1/4 of the arsenal of the U.S. Navy parked off the coast of Venezuela.
Protecting American interests.
What is the American interest? Oil?
Drugs pouring into this country and killing us?
Most drugs do not come through Venezuela. Then why aren't you bombing Mexico?
So we closed the southern border, and that did a really good job. Stop. That's a ridiculous argument.
You stop.
No, that's a ridiculous argument.
No, you're the one being ridiculous.
The president you advocated for 4 years, Joseph R. Biden, allowed our border to be open.
I'm
not gaslighting. Did Joe Biden let in tons and tons and tons? Well, tell that to the families of fentanyl families who have died.
No fentanyl comes from Venezuela.
It comes from the southern border to the border.
Mexico.
Hold on a second.
If your argument that drugs are not coming from Colombia or Venezuela to America.
Oh, I am going to argue that no fentanyl is coming from Venezuela.
Talk to the DEA.
No, you are wrong, and you are lying to the American people. You are part of the fabricating a narrative that doesn't exist.
Hold on a second.
Well, your day job is The View, so let's talk about fabricating.
And you have no day job.
All right, so Dan, I was a good singer. He says, your day job is The View, and she comes back with, you have no day job. But going back to the substance here, he says, talk to the DEA, about the claim that fentanyl comes from Venezuela. Well, let's consult the DEA. They put out a report this year about drugs and the flow of drugs to America. It's called the 2025 DEA National Drug Assessment. And Sagar Enjeti of Breaking Points, he points out that in the section on fentanyl and where it comes from, they don't even mention Venezuela. They talk about Mexico, right? So to Ana Navarro's point, the idea that fentanyl is coming from Venezuela, it's such a non-issue that they don't even bother to mention Venezuela once on the report's whole section about fentanyl. And the only mention of Venezuela is to bring up this gang called Tren de Aragua, which again is basically a relic of many, many years ago. It has no connection at all to the Venezuelan government.
And this is Trump's DEA, right? This isn't like the DEA under Biden. This is Trump's DEA. So this guy, it kind of tracks because this guy who worked for Trump doesn't know, is either lying about or doesn't know the data from the very administration he worked for, because Harrison Fields was a principal deputy press secretary. And, he tries to diss her by saying she's at The View, but if anything, he's just insulting himself more, because the fact that someone whose day job is being a host at The View knows infinitely more about this than you do is damning in itself.
All right. New controversy involving Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. No, it's not that Pete Hegseth is now implicated in the murders of survivors of one of his illegal strikes on boats in the Caribbean. It's that Pete Hegseth reportedly said that he would not let Stephen Miller, his Trump administration colleague, babysit his kids. And so Stephen Miller actually responded on Fox News, and he managed to do so in a typically sadistic, cynical way.
Did he just say anybody could watch my kids except Miller?
Well, I think in fairness, he's worried that if I babysat his kids, they come back after a couple hours and they would say, "Daddy, why don't you send the military into Minnesota to help us with the Somali refugees?" So I think
Miller, you constantly, you're trouble.
I've by the way, never seen him genuinely smile except for here.
I bet people are just trying to contain you at the White House. Don't let Miller off the leash.
Okay, that's such a disgusting. I don't mean to traumatize people, but combining the image of not letting Miller off the leash with his wife's claim, Katie Miller's claim that he's a sexual matador, is so disturbing. I'm sorry for sharing that. I just had to get it off my chest because I can't bear the pain of that image on my own.
And this comes, so him joking about, let's send in the military to kidnap Somali refugees. It comes as Trump has just said that Somalian immigrants are garbage, and he's called for deporting Ilhan Omar.
Right.
Now they get to have a hearty chuckle about all this on Fox News. Just when you think Fox News and its Trump administration ally couldn't get any lower, they just manage a new way every single week.
Well, it's really weird, actually, because this exchange, the reason we know that Hegseth said he wouldn't let Stephen Miller babysit his kids is because it was revealed on an episode of the Katie Miller podcast. And the host asked Hegseth and his wife which members of the Trump administration they would trust to watch their kids. And that at that point, he said, not your husband or Marco. So this is all a very fun game that they're playing. Very charming, yeah.
Yes. Well,
I mean, who would you trust babysit a kid first, Hegseth or Miller? That's actually a good question.
It's a hard question to contemplate, but as long as we can all have a good laugh about Somali refugees and deporting them, as the president calls them garbage. What a time.
I think Hegseth, by the way, I would choose Hegseth over Miller because I think Miller is just Miller is just scary to be in his presence no matter what he does. He's just so creepy.
All right. Well, speaking of creepy, let's turn to Alex Karp of Palantir. This is a firm that's made a lot of money off the military-industrial complex. Alex Karp, we featured him before. He loves to laugh about helping Israel kill Palestinians in Gaza. There was one time when someone with family in Gaza confronted him, and he just basically laughed in her face. Anyway, he recently was at this New York Times Deal Book conference, sort of a gathering of business leaders and the journalists who cover them. And he was upset because apparently there was a recent article in the New York Times about Palantir's role in building a database to spy on Americans, which I believe even without even reading the story, because that's what Palantir does. Anyway, Alex Karp was not happy with the story, and here he is telling the New York Times to their face.
And I'm a little bit pissed at the New York Times, honestly, but and the main reason is I believe in if you're listening, I believe in your mission. When you write a technically completely illiterate article, you lose a lot of credibility with people who are technical. And that's just a fact. That article about us being a surveillance thing is where it's all implied what we do. Yeah, but the problem is you lose credibility with anyone who goes on the thing. And that's damaging for our democracy.
Let me ask you this.
And again, look left and right. The one thing I would say to people in the audience, a lot of you think I'm right. And your spouse, your relative, your child, the person at work would be horrified if they knew it. You better speak up, because everyone who thinks I'm a ridiculous fascist, they're speaking up. They write about it every day. If you do not speak up, the people who are disagreeing with me or think I'm stupid, I disagree with myself. So you have to speak up. And you cannot blame the far left, far right idiots when they speak up for their views. Do you speak up for your views? Where?
All right.
So he's calling on brave centrists?
Yeah, he's calling on brave centrists to rise up and speak out in defense of Alex Karp of Palantir, or else they won't be able to look their kids in their eye, because their kids are going to know one day that they failed to defend Alex Karp of Palantir, and will be so disappointed in them.
Yeah. It's like, what were you doing during slavery? What were you doing during the Holocaust? What were you doing when they were writing critical journalism about Alex Palantir? Alex Karp of Palantir.
Right. What were you doing when they were offering mild criticism of, surveillance, profiteering tech overlords?
Right. At
who
first
literally collaborate with the Israeli death machine.
Right. At first, they wrote mildly critical journalism about Alex Karp, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a tech lord.